Welcome to the Matt Schneidman Show.
Matt's awesome. Everybody loves and respects Matt.
Follow Matt on Twitter and Instagram at Matt Schneidman, or use the talk and text line at 1-414-799-1973.
If I'm in this crummy situation, let's make content out of it.
The Matt Schneidman Show is presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook, a new era in sports betting.
Never go corporate, always go local.
Now with Doug Russell.
Doug, that's why you need to focus and you do everything that we say.
Here's Matt Schneidman on the game.
I think me and Matt have a much better feel for each other.
Matt Schneidman Show, Thursday, August 29th, the last show of the week, as Doug, I believe the Badgers play tomorrow night?
Yes, Badgers playing Western Michigan tomorrow. Coverage on our Milwaukee flagship. 97.3 the game in Milwaukee starts at 4. So no Matt Schneidman Show tomorrow, no Matt Schneidman Show on Monday because of Labor Day, and we'll be back on Tuesday.
Tomorrow, though, we will both be at Lambeau, even though no other media will, because we are sitting down with Matt LaFleur to record the first episode of the Matt LaFleur podcast with me, Matt Schneidman.
Yes.
That conversation
looking forward to that.
Will be aired on Tuesday, first right here on the Matt Schneidman Show. So hopefully nothing big changes by the time Tuesday rolls around from when we record tomorrow afternoon.
Can we do an AI overdub if we have to?
If we have to. I don't expect anything too much will change. Today we talked to Rich Bisaccia, Adam Stenovich, Jeff Hafley, and then the defensive position coaches, Jason Rebrovich, Anthony Campanelli, Derek Ansley, and Ryan Downard. Lot to delve into today. I'll have a bunch more out on The Athletic next week from that, but Rich Bisaccia was up first talking about his kicker situation. Braden Narveson is in the building. He is in Green Bay. He wasn't obviously yesterday in open locker room when the reporters were in there or at practice because he had just been claimed off waivers, but Braden Narveson is in the building. Did get to work with the battery this morning. We've talked about it on this show, Doug, that you're a kicker. And I mean that with all due respect, because if I played a position in the NFL, I would be a kicker too.
Right.
Fun fact, I've kicked 42-yarders, so I'm kind of insulted I didn't get a call. If you're Malik Willis, there's a lot more to learn in 8 days. If you're Braden Narveson, it's okay. Hey, here's where I like the snap. Here's where I like the hold. But it's all pretty much universal in the NFL. Good snap, good hold, just kick the ball, right? It doesn't seem like there's much more to it, so it's not like there's this huge acclimation process of getting Braden Narveson up to speed, and Rich Bisaccia certainly didn't make it seem like that. He basically just said today they'll get a bunch of work in between now and the time they kick off in Brazil, and he's had a bunch of work in Tennessee already, so there isn't like a new language that you have to learn, like Matt LaFleur said yesterday with Malik Willis. It's just kick the ball, hope it goes through the uprights.
Yeah, I think I famously said on last night's show, here's the ball, put it there. That's it. That's the job. That's why Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph aren't around anymore, because they couldn't put the ball
right there.
There. It went over here or over there. Didn't go there.
And
need to put it there.
And that's what Rich Bisaccia said today. He said in the end, basically, the consistency that they were looking for wasn't up to par. And I asked him, was it tough for him just because he has a relationship with the Carlson family? Did he think he could get out from Anders what he got from Daniel? And he did say that they aren't exactly the same situation. Like Daniel had 2 bad games, or really kind of 1 bad game before the Vikings cut him. Anders, they had a much bigger sample size. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're pulling the plug at the same time with both guys, meaning the Vikings with Daniel and the Packers with Anders. Both Brian Gutekunst and Rich Bisaccia basically said the last 2 days they think Anders has a bright future in this league, just not with the Packers. Brian Gutekunst, we talked about it on yesterday's show, alluded to the fact that he has no time to waste. This is a team with championship aspirations right now. If this was the Carolina Panthers or the Arizona Cardinals, a team that isn't expected to contend this year, then maybe you stick with Carlson because you can develop him. Okay, if he costs you a game or two, you're not winning anything anyway, but Packers don't have that time. And is Braden Narveson going to work out? Who knows? But they're kind of familiar with him. Rich Bisaccia did say, and we'll play some audio for you from Bisaccia today, that this isn't the first time he's watched Braden Narveson kick.
Oh, did you want me to play the audio?
Well, I thought that's what when I said we'll play some audio for you.
Oh, but here it is.
So they had their eye on him coming out. If you're doing work on that many kickers, then you're probably not that confident in the one you have. And I think we got a sense of that because Braden Narveson is kicker number 6 for the Packers in 2024. Anders Carlson, as we've said, was the Packers' only kicker from late May through the end of the season. Practice squad, active roster, off-season, training camp, only one. This year, Jack Podlesny, James Turner, Alex Hale, Greg Joseph, Anders Carlson, and now Braden Narveson. So it was clear, even though Brian Gutekunst said he was happy with the rookie season Anders had, and numbers-wise, I guess a little over 81% is fine for a rookie, but it was clear they needed an improvement. And maybe it was fine for a rookie, but the Packers can't afford to have a kicker going through rookie growing pains. And it seems there obviously is already some familiarity with Braden Narveson. We will get to talk to him for the first time on Sunday, I believe, since the Packers don't have any availability Friday or Saturday. Things are moved up with the Brazil game happening next Friday. So a normal Wednesday is going to be Sunday because I'm trying to get this right. I believe the Packers leave Wednesday morning for Brazil.
Okay.
So their availability, I think, will be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And then, since it's an international game and they want to put on a spectacle for the teams arriving, the Packers, who normally don't have any availability or open practice the day before a game, will have both availability and open practice. Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur and potentially others will talk on Thursday in Brazil, and I will be there.
Very good. You looking forward to that?
Very much so. We had a logistics call with the NFL the other day, and it seems like it's going to be an absolute hauling of ass to get from the media hotel that we're staying in to the stadium. I did it on Google Maps. 2.5 hours a shuttle from the media hotel to the stadium.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay.
Great. That's with traffic, obviously.
Well, but I mean, okay. It's not the United States, but I mean, at the Super Bowl, they have police escorts. But again, that's in the United States. I don't know what they do down in Brazil.
Now, I did do Google Maps from the airport to the practice facility because I land around 9:30 a.m. Brazil time on Thursday, and the Packers practice at 12:30 Brazil time. I was like, am I going to be able to make it? Is 3 hours enough? But I just Google Maps it just now, 23 minutes from the airport to the practice facility. So I should be able to make it in time for availability and practice. Although Hunter Baumgart, our super producer here at the game, did just send me a link. Apparently, and this is huge news. This is from Al Jazeera. Brazilian Supreme Court gives Elon Musk until tonight to show cause on his distribution of misinformation or Twitter gets shut down in Brazil. That could be an issue for me.
It might be. Yeah, you might not be able to have Twitter in Brazil when you're at the you're at the game or at the practice or anything. How else? How will you disseminate information then?
I'm on Instagram at Matt Schneidman.
Okay.
Same as my Twitter handle. That's how I will be disseminating information. Now, I would like for Elon to maybe get this figured out so I can tweet out updates. But if he doesn't, follow me on MySpace, follow me on Facebook, neither of which I have. Don't follow me on Snapchat. The only option is Instagram, really.
Yeah.
Maybe get my follower count up.
Yeah. Do what we can. At Matt Schneidman. Come on. Do the right thing.
Absolutely. We also talked to Jeff Hafley today, Packers defensive coordinator, and he will be calling plays from up top in the box in Brazil. We saw Joe Barry do both last year. Doesn't really matter either way. It's just a coach's preference. Jeff Hafley said today that sometimes he wants to be down on the field, be part of the energy, talk to his players, but he's going to be up in the box. He likes the calm of it. He likes to be able to lay stuff out. Speaking of, iPads and play sheets and stuff like that, he likes to be able to, watch film right back in real time, prepare for the next drive, plan ahead. And it's just easier to do that when you're sitting down, you have a table in front of you, maybe when it's away from the emotion and the action a little bit. So that's where Jeff Hafley will be in Brazil, calling plays. I thought Jeff Hafley gave an interesting answer because, yes, he's a 40-something-year-old professional football coach, but this is his first game calling plays at the NFL level. I asked him today, what are his feelings going in? Obviously, we know about all the rookies and Jordan Love going into his second season coming off the big contract, but how's Jeff Hafley feeling going into his first game calling plays in the NFL?
For you, you're going in your first game calling plays in the NFL. Is that exciting, nervous? What are your emotions going into it?
I'm excited. You put in a lot of work, a lot of time, and it's not just me. It's really the whole staff, right? Everything that we've been working forward from the moment we got hired and we sat down, we spent a long off season together. We went through OTAs, we got through training camp, we pieced it together, what we wanted, what we liked, what we didn't like, a lot of hours of different thoughts and ideas and going through training camp and seeing what we liked against Matt. And then obviously in the limited time we had in the preseason games and now we're in the process of piecing it all together and having a game plan. And I mean, for me, it's like this, it's just like I talk to the players and I mean this, we're going to work really hard up until the time we kick off, and my sheet's going to be in front of me and I'm going to let it rip. And we're going to call it. We're going to play fast and we're going to be physical, and I'm not going to hesitate on the call. We're going to get it in quickly to the quay so they can look out and see what the offense is coming out in, and we can go line up and play. Once that starts, maybe I'll be a little anxious before kickoff, but we're going to work to the point where we're prepared. I trust the players. I trust the staff, and I just got to go call it and they got to go play and execute. And I cannot wait for that to happen.
Let it rip, Doug. It all sounds good. Now, is it going to materialize on the field? We don't know.
Oh, no. Turd Ferguson called up and said that you can use VPN, by the way, in Brazil. So I don't know what that means, but I guess that's a thing.
I have faith that Elon Musk will get it figured out because he knows the people need to follow along. I understand they can watch on TV. I even had someone respond to me already on Twitter saying, we don't need you. We can just watch the game. That's fine. But if you don't want to subscribe to Peacock, which is the streaming service the game is being broadcast on, you can follow me. Or if you would like locker room stuff, locker room video, news from the pregame press conference the day before. Come on, Elon. I know Elon Musk listens to the Matt Schneidman show.
Clearly. Absolutely. Of course, you can listen to the game right here in Milwaukee on 97.3 The Game. WIBA in Madison.
What is it in Brazil? What's the game in Brazil?
What's the word for game in Brazil?
I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese.
Oh, okay. Then I don't know. Portuguese and Spanish are similar?
A little bit.
So I don't know. But you can.
I did minor in Spanish in college.
That's why I asked you.
Right.
Yeah, we discussed that on last night's show.
Yes, we did.
So you can listen to the game right here on 97.3 The Game in Milwaukee, or on 101.1 if you're listening in Green Bay on WIXX, or wherever you listen to your, Wayne and Larry throughout the state of Wisconsin or throughout the worldwide web. And you can go to Packers.com if you're out state or whatever. But I will say that, the game will be on Peacock, yes. But in Milwaukee, you can also watch it on WTMJ TV. And in Green Bay, you can watch it on, I think, channel 26 WGBA. I believe.
There you go.
So, so if you're outstate, you can only watch it on Peacock. But NFL rules state that if it's a game that otherwise would be unavailable on broadcast air in the home markets, and the Packers are unique because they have 2 home markets, Milwaukee and Green Bay, they have to have it on over-the-air television. So, NFL rules.
There you go. After the break, we're going to take a look into a little bit of what Adam Stenavich, the Packers offensive coordinator, said, and read in between the lines as it pertains to the one quote unquote, is it quote unquote or quote end quote?
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. So neither of the options I said.
Yeah. Quote unquote.
The quote unquote.
It's basically, that just means paraphrasing.
Quote unquote. I've been saying quote unquote my entire life.
Yeah, it's for all intents and purposes too, not all intensive purposes.
Right. I know
I
that.
know a lot of people don't.
Wow, I'm an idiot. As someone who should have a solid hold on the English language as a writer, that's embarrassing. Anyway, the quote unquote one undecided starting spot on the offensive line, I think we know who it's going to be. Stenavich gave us a little bit of a clue. I don't want to read too much into it, but guess what? That's exactly what we're going to do on the other side, right here on the Matt Schneidman Show on The Game. What goes great with an Iron Jock workout? Or watching your favorite sport? A drink tumbler, of course. Now through September 2nd, when you buy just $50 or more, not only will Iron Jock take 25% off of your entire purchase, you'll also get their Iron Jock white tumbler for free. Just use promo code 25tumbler. Go to ironjock.com for details. That's ironjoc.com. I could probably read that in my sleep. You know, we get these ad reads to do for about 2 weeks at a time, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
1 week or 2 week? Either way.
I think, usually they're about 2 weeks.
I could probably read that in my sleep. I might try.
My short-term memory is
show.
so bad. When I do morning sports in Madison, I have the same read, and I have to look at it verbatim, word for word, every update. Otherwise, I'm going to screw it up.
I do that just so I get it right.
Yeah.
Don't want to take the risk. The Packers might not want to take a risk like that transition with playing a rookie in the starting lineup on the offensive line if he hasn't participated in teamwork the last couple weeks. Now, I guess we don't technically know if Jordan Morgan did 11 on 11 yesterday because reporters were not permitted to watch teamwork. Training camp rules are over. In training camp, we got to watch every second of the practice. We weren't allowed to film or do video all the time during those practices, but we at least got to watch and commentate on the entire practice. Regular season rules are now in effect. That means we get kicked out after about 20 minutes. Sometimes we only get to watch stretch. Sometimes we get to watch routes on air. We never get to watch team drills during the regular season. So Jordan Morgan may have done 11 on 11 yesterday. We don't know. Even if he did, is that enough ramp-up time for him to start at right guard in week 1 against the Eagles 8 days from now? The Packers wanted him to be their starting right guard. They telegraphed that to us by starting Jordan Morgan at right guard for the 3 practices before he got injured. That shoulder injury kept him out about a week from practice altogether. Then he returned. But all told, he has not done 11 on 11 the last couple weeks. We've talked a lot on this show about how Sean Ryan has been that guy who has played multiple spots. He played some center in preseason games. He's able to play left guard. And Adam Stenavich has said, you want your guys coming off the bench to be those versatile guys who can play all 3 spots on the interior if you're a interior guy and not a tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So we read between the lines and said, okay, they want Jordan Morgan to start because Jordan Morgan isn't playing 3 spots. Well, now that he hasn't gotten much teamwork over the last couple weeks, Sean Ryan's been the guy at right guard. And have a listen to what offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich, the former Packers offensive line coach, said today about Sean Ryan. And you tell me who you think is starting at right guard in 8 days.
Sean Ryan has handled right guard since Jordan went out of team stuff.
Yeah, I thought he's done a great job. Given that opportunity, he's stepped up and shown that he can be our guy if we need him to be.
Is he going to be the guy?
We'll see. Jordan's coming along in practice and stuff, so we're just kind of taking that situation day to day and seeing what happens there.
Jordan's come along in practice. It doesn't say if he's done 11 on 11. I guess I probably should have followed up by asking if he's done 11 on 11. That was Pete Doherty, longtime columnist for the Green Bay Press-Gazette, following up there. That was not me on the follow-up. Pete with the good follow-up. I think Sean Ryan's going to start. Now, I don't think it has anything to do with Jordan Morgan's lack of skill. I think he'll probably become the starter at some point this season. And if he doesn't, that's fine too. Because we know they like to slow cook their first-round picks sometimes. Rashawn Gary, Lucas Van Ness, Jordan Love.
Some of that has to do with injury, though, especially with Jordan.
Sure, absolutely. But my point is, it's not a necessity to start a first-round pick since day one, and it's not the worst thing for them to develop.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Sean Ryan. Sure, that might just be a stock answer from Adam Stenavich. Oh, he's been great. He's been outstanding, which is what Matt LaFleur always says. Could be the worst player of all time. Matt LaFleur might still say he's outstanding. That's kind of his stock word.
Ask him about that tomorrow.
No. I am curious about how many jokes I will be able to get away with. I don't, meaning, will I be able to crack some jokes? I'll tell you about a joke I made to Brian Gutekunst yesterday, and he thought it was really funny. It had the potential to be an absolute disaster, but it wasn't. But yeah, I think Sean Ryan's going to start.
I don't think
I
there's
think
any
Jordan
doubt.
Morgan's just missed too much time. And Adam Stenavich, probably more so than any other assistant coach, kind of shoots you straight. Remember last year, after Josh Nijman hadn't earned a starting spot out of camp after playing really well in David Bakhtiari's absence the year before, Stenavich said, yeah, Josh is a backup offensive lineman for us. Some people rise to the occasion, the competition in camp, and some people don't. And Matt LaFleur was not happy about that. Because Matt LaFleur pulled me aside in the locker room after that and basically said, I want to give you a quote about Josh. That's not because he didn't address Stenavich specifically to me on the record, but he basically said, this is how I feel about Josh. And in fewer words said, that's not how I want my coaches talking about our guys. He didn't say that directly to me on the record, but by giving me a quote, he basically said, I don't want that to be how we talk about Josh. He's been a really important piece for us. So all that to say, Stenavich kind of tells it how it is, even though he's probably tapered it down a little bit because I'm sure Matt LaFleur had a talking to with him after that. So him complimenting Sean Ryan like that, I think we can read a little bit more into that than maybe we would another coach's praise. Now, before I forget, the joke I told to Brian Gutekunst, and it was on the record. It's on my recorder, so it won't be in my story, but I am coming out with a Jordan Love profile next week. Sat down with Brian Gutekunst yesterday, and I talked with Aaron Rodgers on Tuesday for the story. He was fantastic, as always. I have said to other people, I kind of miss how you can just ask Aaron a question, and he'll just tell a story basically for you in the answer and give you a great anecdote. There was one specific instance of that happening that will be in the story. But Brian Gutekunst knows Aaron Rodgers doesn't like him. Rodgers had that quote in my story last year about the whole years-long breakup, basically saying I talk to people that I like when they were talking about the whole FaceTime service thing. And so as I was sitting down with Gutekunst yesterday, I said to him, I talked to Aaron yesterday. He says hello. And Goody goes, oh, really? Great. I said, no, he didn't say hello. And Goody just goes, damn. But he kind of laughed it off. So
I mean, what else can you do? I mean, listen, we all have people that we've worked with that we don't necessarily want to hear from. I know I have them.
Now, I won't get too much into that because you guys and girls don't want to hear me talk about past Packers teams, but I do think Brian Gutekunst might not feel as much ill will toward him as Rodgers does toward him. That's just my read on it. I could be wrong, but I did find it funny and appreciate how Brian Gutekunst kind of just laughed that off, because that could have been a joke that went absolutely south and soured the entire interview, but he was great, as always.
I think that sometimes time softens just about everyone, and I don't know if Aaron's that person or not. I don't know. I haven't read Ian O'Connor's book yet, although I do hope to.
Neither have I.
There are some fascinating little tidbits that I've heard here and there, but there was a lot of bad blood between Ted and Brett when Brett left. But it seems like certainly by the time Ted got sick or ultimately passed away a couple of years ago, that fence had mended, which was nice to see, because you don't want to see team legends, at each other's throats all the time. But I'm hopeful.
Brian Gutekunst's not a legend yet.
No.
Aaron Rodgers, yes, legend.
Ted Thompson was the general manager for a Super Bowl win,
legend.
So his name is up on the wall at Lambeau.
Brett Favre, legend, obviously.
Of course.
Does Brian Gutekunst reach legend status if he wins the Super Bowl this year?
Well, Ted won one, and his name's up on the facade. So if you win a Super Bowl, a couple of things happen. Number one, the head coach will get a street named after him. So we've got Holmgren Way and Mike McCarthy Pass. So it'll be Matt LaFleur something.
Terrace.
Ooh, I like that.
We'll get a terrace.
And maybe a Brian Gutekunst Parkway. But the general manager then apparently will get their name up on the facade if you win a Super Bowl with the team.
There you go.
So Ron Wolf is in the Hall of Fame, so he's on the other side of the facade. Vince Lombardi obviously was the general manager, and yeah, that happened. He's up on the facade as a Hall of Famer. Same thing with Curly Lambeau for a long time, and I think that's probably something that happened in the NFL a lot. The head coach was also the general manager, but that's just not a good idea anymore.
Agreed. Ben Standig, who covers the Commanders for us at The Athletic, comes out every summer with an agent survey. I believe he talked to 31 agents. Yeah, 31 agents. I'm reading the story on The Athletic right now. On a wide variety of subjects, he surveys them on. The best run franchise to the best GM, to their opinions on topics around the league, like Brandon Aiyuk's contract, which just got done. And we'll maybe dive into that later in the show. About Dak Prescott, about Patrick Mahomes, about the worst run organization. So I want to pick out a couple things from their Packers related that I think y'all should know. So which is the best run franchise? 31 agents surveyed. Number one, tied for number one, the Eagles and 49ers with 5 votes each.
I can see that.
Number 3, the Chiefs with 4 votes.
Which is interesting because when the players had their survey at the end of last year, the Chiefs, you would think, would score highly in just about everything across the board, and they didn't, at least as far as the players are concerned. But they won 3 Super Bowls, and they won 3 Super Bowls in recent memory. So.
That stuff doesn't, those NFLPA surveys don't really take into account on the field product.
Yeah.
It's more so facilities, treatment, cafeteria,
owners,
family care on game day.
Yeah.
The best run franchise takes into account personnel and stuff like that.
Sure.
So that's why the Eagles and 49ers are tied for first. The Chiefs are third, and alone in fourth place with 3 votes, the Green Bay Packers.
Okay. I can see that.
Just, they have a reputation for being a well-run franchise.
Well, I mean, they've had a lot of success, though, too. And it's been sustained over a long period of time. I mean, the Packers, if you're a Packers fan of a certain age, if you're under the age of, say, I don't know, 37 or 38, maybe getting up to closer to 40, you don't remember what having bad football on a day in and day out Sunday every week was. If you lived through the 70s and 80s, listen, if you're old enough to have lived through the 60s and then the 70s and then 80s, there's probably a gold star for you somewhere for having lived through all of that stuff. There's probably some sort of medal for having been at the highest of highs and then the lowest of lows and then seeing the rebirth again. But for like the last 35 years, this has been a model franchise in the NFL. Yes, you would like to see more Super Bowl wins, but this is a team that is a regular participant in the playoffs every single year. They've churned out Hall of Fame players. I mean, there's not that much to pick on, to be honest with you, except for, you'd like to see a couple more trophies.
And in this story, there are a handful of quotes, anonymous quotes, from the agents included below each section. And here's one on the Packers from an anonymous agent. Green Bay has an excellent front office, starting with Gutekunst, and they rebuilt the team on the fly after the Aaron Rodgers trade without mortgaging the future. I'm unsure if their different ownership structure helps, but they have a good plan and staff every year. Players like it there, small market or not. Now, we don't know which agents these are, but agents deal with front offices and teams all the time, so they have a pretty good understanding of the inner workings of teams. Which is the most unstable franchise? Obviously, the Packers are not in the 8 teams listed here, so we'll just run through it. The Panthers, number 1. Raiders, number 2. Jets, Jaguars, Cowboys, Cardinals tied for 3rd.
Yeah. None of that surprises me.
Which franchise had the best offseason? The Commanders won that one. Offseason champs, doesn't really matter.
They don't hand out trophies for that. The Commanders were last for so many years when Daniel Snyder was their owner. Now that Josh Harris is the owner, he's trying to turn things around. I'm hopeful for Commanders fans, Washington football fans, for their sake, because they've got so much history, but it was just so poorly run for so long. And Dave Tepper in Carolina, I'm not sure what he's getting right now. So, yeah, it's
nothing much.
Not much. And, the Bidwell family in Arizona, I mean, that's been a disaster. So, I mean, you can tell the poorly run franchises from the well-run franchises. It's easy to see, and it's not just a lot of it. You can tell, in the standings, because if you've got a good organization, you're more prone to win games, and if you got a bad organization, you're more prone to lose games, and it all starts at the top. So to your question about the Packers ownership structure, I think it does probably have something to do with it, because you don't have one owner who's trying to, look out for his own pocketbook. The Packers organization, I mean, it's not like Mark Murphy is a billionaire like every other owner in the NFL, or Ed Policy next year when he becomes the president and CEO. It's just run differently, and I think it gives you some flexibility to spend money in other ways where some owners may not want to spend money. Packers got to spend it somewhere, and they've invested in their facilities. They've invested in everything that they do there. It's Lambeau Field and the surrounding area of Lambeau Field. It is a constant construction zone. And I mean, that's part of being a well-run organization, because you just keep reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting. And they understand that, when things, before Bob Harlan took over in 1989, things had kind of gotten a little bit out of control as far as, the facility not being very good. They rebuilt, the new Don Hudson Center, which I think it opened in the 92, 93, somewhere in there. And that's all Bob Harlan. He started that. So, yeah, I think that ownership structure has a ton to do with whether or not you're a well-run organization.
Also, before we continue with this, I want to give a shout out to Dan Pompei. Fantastic feature writer for us on the national level at The Athletic.
I've known Dan a long time. He's a very, very good writer.
He came to Green Bay a couple weeks ago and sat down with Josh Jacobs, dropped a feature on Jacobs today. Well worth your time. So go over to The Athletic and check that out. All right, back to this agent survey. Best talent evaluator. Tied for first, John Schneider.
Okay.
Seahawks GM, former Packers executive.
Yep.
With 4 votes. And Brett Veach, the Chiefs GM, with 4 votes. Tied for third, Adam Peters, the Commanders GM, former 49ers assistant GM, with 3 votes. And tied with him for third, Brian Gutekunst.
The record's there.
The Green Bay Packers general manager, if you didn't know.
I mean, not every draft pick has landed, but you can say that about all 32 teams.
The Jordan Love situation, especially if he builds on the second half of last year, makes him look really freaking good.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's the same thing with Ted. I mean, for years, the 3 years, just like Jordan Love sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, Aaron sat behind Brett for 3 years, and people were kind of scratching their heads saying, was this a wise move? And is it a wise move to hang on to this guy for as long as the Packers hung on to him? And yeah, it turned out okay.
And a quote from an anonymous agent about Gutekunst. Gutekunst sticks to his instincts instead of partaking in groupthink. He will listen to his staff. The Packers have a sound system.
I agree. I think Brian Gutekunst should be getting, all of the plaudits that he can get. There's only one thing that's missing on Brian Gutekunst's resume. That's it. It's that trophy. And at some point, I think they're going to get it.
The next category is which GM or front office leader do you trust most? Brian Gutekunst is not in the top 5. It's Elliot Wolf, former Packers executive.
Interesting.
Now the Patriots GM, pretty much. Brett Veach, Nick Caserio, Omar Khan, and Adam Peters. Those were 4 votes, 3 votes, and then Caserio, Khan, and Peters had 2. Other was 18. Now, there are several Packers executives in the other section, neither of which are Brian Gutekunst, which is funny. Russ Ball is on the other list.
Okay.
EVP, director of football operations.
He's the money guy.
He's the money guy. And then Richmond Williams, the Packers director of pro personnel. I don't see Brian Gutekunst on this list. So maybe people just don't trust him.
Interesting.
I'm kidding. People probably do, but
I would think
not enough to crack this list. Who is the best overall GM? There are 10 names here. Brian Gutekunst is not one of them. Brett Veach, Howie Roseman, Brad Holmes, John Schneider, Chris Ballard, John Lynch, Eric DeCosta, Brandon Beane, Nick Caserio, and Andrew Barry.
Interesting. Well, again, you win a trophy and a lot of things go away. You get to a Super Bowl, a lot of things, you get respect from that. And the Packers haven't been able to do that. They've come close a couple of times. They've been to the NFC Championship game, just haven't been able to get over the hump. And whether you should or should not be judged based on one, albeit huge, but one game, one 60-minute, period of football, I don't know. But you know what? That's just the way we judge things as a society.
Future GM to watch. There are probably about 20 names here. None of them are from the Packers, which, that's something I find a little surprising. In my now 6 years on the beat, I think John Wojciechowski is the only Packers executive to get a GM job, and it was with the Steelers a couple years ago. The Packers consistently have a pretty solid roster.
Sure.
With regards to the rest of the NFL. And you never really hear John Eric Sullivan or Milt Hendrickson or Woj get any GM candidacy. No, I'm not saying they deserve it more than other guys, but Packers are a pretty historically well-run team.
Yeah, I mean, they've churned out guys like John Dorsey, Elliott Wolf, you mentioned, John Schneider, you mentioned, Andrew Brandt, who went into media, obviously, came out of the
We know Andrew Brandt's in the media.
right.
He doesn't let you forget it.
Reggie McKenzie, who was general manager for the Raiders for a while. Yeah, I mean, the Packers have a pretty good history of developing general manager candidates.
Oh, yeah. I covered Reggie McKenzie in Oakland.
I'm sure you did.
Maybe not this crop, though. Although, if they have another solid season this year, maybe part of it, now I'm just speculating here, maybe part of it is the success of the final Aaron Rodgers years was Rodgers, Bakhtiari, Devontae, Crosby, Aaron Jones, like a lot of guys who are from Ted's regime. This team, if it has success, this is the Brian Gutekunst regime.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe guys under him will start to get more recognition if the Packers have another good year this year. Just like I think Matt LaFleur could be a candidate for coach of the year if the Packers have another good year, specifically because of their offense.
A lot of it's going to depend, as so much does in the NFL, on the quarterback play. I mean, that the quarterback play can make or break a lot of things in the organization. I said for years that Aaron Rodgers covered up so many of the warts that the Packers had defensively specifically. But other than, people were upset the Packers would win double-digit games every year and only churn out 2 Pro Bowlers. I'm like, well, who are you going to take out? Who else deserves to be a Pro Bowler? And generally the answer was nobody, because there were a lot of other holes that weren't addressed. And I think that, if you've got a great quarterback, and a lot of teams have really good quarterbacks right now, so maybe that bar is just being raised for everybody, and that's why you see what quarterbacks are making nowadays. But that can cover up so much, and it can also make or break legacies. I mean, you look at Mike Holmgren, and he's so closely associated with Brett. You look at Mike McCarthy, and he's so closely associated with Aaron, and even the general managers. Ron Wolf traded a first-round pick to Atlanta to get Brett. Ted, with the number 24 overall pick, he got Aaron Rodgers, who was just sitting at the, in the green room for 5 hours with the ESPN cameras just boring down on him. I remember when Jordan Love was traded, or when he was drafted by Goody, there were so many pundits going, "Oh my God, what are they doing? What?" And I've got the tape to prove it too. So yeah, I mean, a quarterback can, and if Jordan Love turns out to be the 3rd straight Hall of Fame quarterback that the Packers have, that's going to, raise the profile of both Goody and LaFleur, and it should.
A little tease, I think my Jordan Love story is coming out on Tuesday or Wednesday, but there is an interesting note about draft night in 2020 on the record from Brian Gutekunst in there that I think people will want to see, that I don't believe he's said on the record before.
No, that's a good tease.
You'll have to tap into The Athletic. Tuesday, big day. We got the first Matt LaFleur podcast dropping. We got my Jordan Love profile dropping. Now I have to write it well this weekend, and I don't want to build it up too much because I might just
do a
terrible job writing it.
I think you'll be okay.
Who knows?
You're a pretty good writer.
I'm sitting down with Jordan tomorrow as well, which will be nice. I've never talked to him one-on-one, so hoping he gives me some good stuff. But should be exciting. Exciting time. NFL season starting. A lot of good content coming out, not only from us, but from a lot of people. On the other side, this Brandon Aiyuk deal just got done, and there are some interesting notes about that. Speaking of Brandon Aiyuk and tying together the tease I just had, what if I told you to take the line of the ESPN 30 for 30s? What if I told you that after the Packers went to the 2019 NFC Championship game, they actually wanted to trade up in the 2020 draft for a wide receiver? Who went a couple picks ahead of them?
In 2020? Oh, yeah.
Brandon Aiyuk and Justin Jefferson.
I was going to say Justin Jefferson. He was the one that I think
and
a lot
Jalen
of Packers
Reagor,
fans,
I believe.
Yeah, kind of circled on there. Ooh, he'd be nice.
Keep an eye on my story.
Okay.
We'll be right back after the break here on the Matt Schneidman Show on The Game. Back here on the Matt Schneidman Show, wrapping up our final show of the week with the Badgers playing tomorrow here on the Game airwaves. I just read a tweet from Woj ESPN. Golden State Warriors star Steph Curry has agreed on a 1-year, $62.6 million contract extension.
Damn.
Guess how I'm going to reach that salary?
By living 18 lifetimes?
By using the Potawatomi Sportsbook, a new era in sports betting. Thanks for sponsoring the show.
Hey, if you
I
hit it
forgot
big.
to get it in earlier, so I had to get it in there.
Hey, their Twitter handle is Pays Big, so let's go.
I don't think my parents are listening to the show right now since they're at the U.S. Open.
Oh, nice. We had tickets to the U.S. Open. We just couldn't find a hotel room for less than $700 a night.
I try and guess how much I am on blackjack at Oneida Casino. I probably shouldn't say that casino since they don't sponsor us. That's on me. Try and guess how much money I'm up on.
Don't worry, nobody heard it.
You dumped it?
Yep.
Oh, nice. Try and guess how much money I'm up on blackjack this week.
I'm going to say 2,300.
Way higher.
Really?
Yeah.
10 grand.
No, not that high.
I don't know. You said way higher. 6 grand.
No, it's like 35.
Okay. Still, that's pretty good. That's really good.
It was very good. And I was able to pay for my patio that was poured in today. And my lawn is going to be seeded in a couple weeks.
Very nice.
I'm ready. I'm becoming an actual adult.
I know.
An actual 29-year-old home-owning adult.
My lawn desperately needs to be mowed, so I'm going to knock that down.
I can't wait to mow my lawn. I can't wait to have a lawn to mow.
It's true. It's true. When before we bought the house, everybody was like, "Oh, yeah," because I lived in a condo most of my life, or an apartment when I lived in Chicago. So, you're gonna have to mow the lawn every week. It's like that's Doug time. That is my me time. I've got these wireless headphones on. I can listen to whatever I want to listen to, and nobody bothers me. It is the greatest thing in the world. It is 2 hours of just pure bliss. I love it. Never given up my lawnmower.
2 hours?
Well, that's with the trim, and that's after the trim, then I take the leaf blower and just kind of make everything pretty. We got these rock beds that sometimes when the grass goes into the rock beds, you got to take the leaf blower and blow it all out. I do take my time. I'm not going to lie. I take my time. I could probably, if I was really humping on it, I could probably get it done in a little over an hour.
Some interesting notes coming out on the Brandon Aiyuk deal. He signs a 4-year, $120 million deal. Then Adam Schefter comes out and says Brandon Aiyuk accepted the same deal that has been on the table since August 12th. 2.5 weeks. Per league sources. His holding did not alter any part of his new 4-year, $120 million extension. And then Ayuk's agent quote tweets that and says this is factually incorrect. So who knows what's true? Diana Rossini, our national insider at The Athletic, the 49ers only were willing to trade Brandon Aiyuk if they could get a top flight wide receiver to replace him. They offered a 3rd-round pick to Denver for Cortland Sutton and then would have dealt Aiyuk to the Steelers, but the Broncos declined the offer.
Yeah, I would too. Cortland Sutton's pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And you want to know what the best friend of Bo Nix is? Cortland Sutton.
Right now, yeah.
Not a 3rd-round pick in next year's draft. It's Cortland
No.
Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, hey, got to give John Lynch credit for trying, I guess.
I guess so.
But, I mean, come on. I think he insulted his former team.
So Brandon Aiyuk will be a 49er, after all. Packers wouldn't have minded if he went to the Steelers. The 49ers come to Lambeau Field this season. I believe week 12, 3:25 kickoff. I would be shocked if Tom Brady is not calling that game. Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt, the new Fox A team. Poor Greg Olsen. He was so freaking good.
He was. You can
But
tell.
Tom Brady's Tom Brady.
He knew that when he was going into it was going to be a year or two.
Oh, yeah.
He still seemed kind of hurt by it when Brady came in and
Yes, he did.
just kind of swooped in. He's like,
He's done
"Oh."
interviews with Pardon My Take and other podcasts. He knows it's Brady.
I
But
know.
Greg Olson's really damn good at what he does.
He was. He was very good. He was very good.
Anyway, Todd Blackledge and Noah Eagle on the call next Friday, I believe. My voice is getting higher, which means I'm not really sure.
I don't have it in front of me. I think it is Noah Eagle. I don't know if it is it Blackledge that's going with him?
Yes, since the game is on Peacock, which is obviously an NBC.
Well, they're not sending Tirico. He's got to call the night before.
Okay, so Blackledge, Noah Eagle, and Kaylee Hartung on the sideline.
Okay.
Fun
All right.
fact, I took a class titled Super Bowl in college when I was a senior at Syracuse, and a sophomore Noah Eagle was in my class.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Haven't talked to him since. Didn't talk to him then. But
I was
he's
a classmate of Burt Griffin. That's all I got.
Oh my God. I don't think that measures up to being classmates with Noah Eagle.
I think it does. Burke,
Does it
if you're
really?
out there, Titan
Well,
pride.
Burke's out there somewhere.
Oh yeah, no, Burke listens. Burke
To
listens.
to this show? I don't know.
If he does, I'm sure I'm going to get a text
Noah
in about
Eagle.
3 minutes.
Yes. His dad is famous, Iron Eagle, but Noah's really damn good too.
He's very good.
You can't say the same about all father-son combos. Joe Buck is obviously another one who exceeded the hype and squashed the nepotism thing. I get maybe it is a little bit of nepotism, but he's proved his worth. Noah Eagle has done the same. And guess what? We're going to end the show on that abrupt note. And it is our last show. Tuesday's our next one?
Yeah, Tuesday.
So no show tomorrow, no show Monday with the holiday. Enjoy your weekend. For Doug, I'm Matt. We'll talk to you Tuesday, week 1.
My